Apparently, the 4 a.m. talking point drops came a bit late for the mainstream media for them to get their bullshit story straight about the alleged suicide of serial chomo Jeffrey Epstein. I predicted he wouldn't live to see his trial day the moment he was taken into custody. But what the fuck do I know? Apparently, I don't know what I don't know, but a fucking idiot with Alzheimer's on crack can tell you that a high profile chomo is a dead man walking in any jail or prison in the country. See my video number 113 of the same title that is linked in the description. I have also included links below to mainstream media news reports and coverage by citizen journalists. Who do you trust? Supposedly, he was on suicide watch. So much for that shit. Who's gonna get fired for incompetence? Nobody. Where is the video surveillance tapes? Oh, the DVR happened to malfunction. Where is this dead motherfucker's corpse? In Saudi Arabia, working as a porter in the fucking Dubai Hilton. Non-existent abandoned farmhouses notwithstanding. Hello, this is Dave from Net4 Truth USA Whirlwind Revolt. Today, Whirlwind Revolt came back up, and I spent a good part of the day uploading all the videos that I couldn't upload for the last 2 weeks to this channel. So now I am going to be posting exclusively to this channel and leaving the backups as backups. What a great day it was today, let me tell you. I fell asleep with the phone in my hand last night, and I got woke up by a dear subscriber named Darlene, who called and asked if I heard that Jeffrey Epstein was dead. And at that point, it was news to me, but it wasn't any surprise, because I predicted that the day he got arrested. Whether or not he committed suicide has yet to be determined. I can only speculate. First of all, the guy was on suicide watch. And the mainstream media, I think it was ABC, said they took him off suicide watch. And they put him in the SHU, the Special Housing Unit. Special housing units in the Manhattan Federal Detention Center is a one-man cell. And if you're on suicide watch, they give you this moo outfit. It's a piece of, it's what it is a beefed up, I don't know if you've ever seen moving blankets that they wrap furniture with. Well, this is like a moving blanket that's about this thick. And it's quilted, so you can't even tie it in a knot if you wanted to. You can't tie it around your neck and hang yourself with it. People who are on suicide watch also get the motorcycle helmets with the chin straps and the lock around the back of the neck. So you can't take it off. So this way you can't run across yourself and bash your head up against the wall. Suicide watch also means there's a camera with somebody watching it 24/7. I would like to know how this guy committed suicide in a cell by himself, dressed in a moo outfit, possibly with a motorcycle helmet strapped to his face, to his head. I don't know, how the hell's that happen? Well, there's only one way it could happen. The guards were in on it. They did it to him. And I said, well, that's a pretty damn hefty charge to be alleging. Well, it's either negligence or you did it on purpose. Because if you're in a special housing unit and you're a high-profile serial chomo, any guard, even a newbie, knows to keep their eye on you because you might do something to yourself. Not that he would have. Because he figures he's got enough money and enough people by the como se llamas that he can get off. He can get the same deal that he got down in Florida. Well, that apparently wasn't going to happen. Either that or There's another possibility. The other possibility is they fake croaked him and they took him out, and now he is in witness protection, yapping, snitching. And if he's ever out on the street, he's a dead man. If they put him in general population, he's a dead man. If they put him in special housing unit, he's a dead man, because motherfuckers would sign in. Lifers would sign in. They'd find an excuse to get into the special housing unit alongside of him so that they can catch him, because they got time on their hands. They can wait forever, 2, 3 weeks, 2 months, don't care. As soon as he steps out of his cell, he gets the shiv. And the guy who shivs him, he's not going anywhere. He's not getting out of jail, so they take him for an outside charge, another murder charge. So he's back and forth 2 or 3 times to the court in a bus. He gets to, oogle all the girls on the street in the summertime, when the twins are out. He's got nothing to lose. Or there's another possibility. Maybe he knew something about somebody that wasn't discovered, or maybe they thought wasn't discovered in the raid on his apartment, or what's buried under the tunnels on his Pettivore Island, and they needed to keep him from yapping to get a deal. Now, I don't know what kind of deal you're going to get with 45 years in prison on a plea, with hundreds of photographs and possibly hundreds of videotapes. Each frame of a video can be counted as a pornographic image, for which in New York you can get 2 years. And if you run it consecutively, the parole officer of the grandmother of the grandmother of the grandmother of the parole officer ain't been born yet, they would have to keep your brain in a jar alive by putting it up, putting blood in it like a dialysis machine, and your eyeballs connected so you can see where the fuck you're at, and keep you in a jail cell there in a jar, your brain in a jar. No way was he going to walk away from this. He was a dead man walking the minute they arrested him. There was absolutely no way out of this. And when you have no way out, you would think, you would infer, that a person in that situation would rather die than spend the rest of his life in prison. And it wouldn't have been too long a life anyhow, because if they sent him from Manhattan Detention Center to Rikers to await trial, he would have never made it, because people in Rikers would have killed him. The guards would have killed him in Rikers. Are you kidding me? So we know that anybody who is connected to this crap, who has information that certain people do not want exposed, kind of end up dead. We know this. I did a video on it. I did a video on how many people are connected to the Oven Mitt Fashionista. There was about 100 of them, and my calculator ran out of digits. It was some astronomical number that ended up with like 19 zeros after it or some shit. The odds are astronomical. Just the math proves it. You don't even need any evidence. Just the math proves it. If you were an insurance company and had an actuarial table about what the risk of somebody dying is in order to, calculate how much you're going to charge them for an insurance policy, anybody who is connected to the Oven Mitt Fashionista, also known as the Hildebeest or Hillary Clinton, would be denied a life insurance policy at any cost. He tried to bail out $100 million. The judge said, "Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? $100 million for bail? you couldn't pay me to set you loose. So sit in your cell until next year, until, July next year, whenever it is, until your lawyers get all these millions of documents together to try to bullshit their way out of this one. It's not happening. You can spend all the money you want. You can't get around the facts. So, my prediction came true. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon how you want to look at it. Obviously, they were keeping him alive to try to put him in jail. And Trump says, if you're dealing in child trafficking, you're going to get the death penalty. So you're going to be dead one way or the other. You're going to end up 6 feet under one way or the other. I believe they sent him over to Israel or to Dubai or somewhere. He's in witness protection. He's yapping. And you'll never hear from him again. He's dead. As far as we're concerned, he's dead. You'll never hear from him again. And all the people that he snitched on or was going to snitch on, depending on whether you believe he committed suicide or was spirited away by the good guys, or that he was Arkancided. There's three ways. He was either spirited away by the good guys, he's in witness protection, they faked his death, and now he's chap, or he was Arkancided, in which case chap is out of the question, or he committed suicide, in which case chap is out of the question. So, any way he turned, there was no way out. So, hopefully, the former scenario where the good guys spirited him away, made the deep state think that he croaked or committed suicide. This way, they're not worried about him talking, not worried about getting him anymore, because he's dead. And meanwhile, he's talking. Let me tell you this. This is the biggest scandal ever on the planet. Because it not only involves the United States, it involves England. It involves all bunch of foreign countries, Canada, Mexico. Mexico's paying Nancy Pelosi, I guarantee you, to keep the borders open so they can traffic the kids and bring up the drugs. Guaranteed. The puzzle fits. Why, before Donald Trump got into the White House, were you for the border control? And after Trump gets in, that he said the same thing that you're saying, almost word for word, now you're against it. Why? Because before, when you built the wall and when you had control of the access points, it was fine because you let who needs to get in. Who you wanted to get in, who's paying you the payola. But now that the other side, the good guys, are building the wall and got control of the access points, now you don't want the wall because you can't control who you want to get in with the trafficking and the drugs and all that other shit. Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I'd like to know. I'd like to know another alternative explanation to how this puzzle fits together. This is huge. Prince Albert, or Prince, what's his name, is involved with this shit. They got him on video. I guarantee you. They got him on video diddling some little kid. And they don't want that shit to get out. That's why they don't want the D-class to get out. Because when the D-class gets out, we'll find out that the Pettivore Queen's been running this country since 1776. And we never won the Revolutionary War. It was just a big bullshit story. And during the Civil War, the United States went broke and borrowed money from private banks, now known as the Central Bank or Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor has any reserves. And all the money in your pocket, if you stuck it all together in one big stack, it ain't worth a lit fart in a wool mitten. And the only reason he buys a loaf of bread is because that schmuck that you hand it to thinks it's worth something. Billions and billions of dollars sent to Iran. Billions and billions of dollars sent to North Korea. Pissed away to bribe people, to buy drugs, to buy little kids, to traffic. The biggest industry on the planet. If you took the top 3 Fortune 500 companies and put them together, it wouldn't even make a dent in what this trafficking and drugs is worth. It needs to stop. And I'm sorry to say, if it wasn't for the market, there wouldn't be a seller. They'd go out of business. So everybody out there who's a drug addict, everybody's out there who's buying children for slavery or for sex or whatever, you people should be treated exactly the same as the people who sold you this shit, as non-uniformed enemy combatants with no constitutional rights whatsoever. And if I had my way, we'd put you on a boat, be a ball-peen hammer, send you out to some Pacific atoll somewhere, let you loose, and tell you to go hunt roaches and rats and wipe your ass with palm leaves, because we'll see you later. This is Dave from Net4 Truth USA. Here is a Wikipedia article about what they do on Suicide Watch. And a real funny guy, Lucas, who I subscribe to his channel, but he is hilarious. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. We're back. Anti-suicide smock. An anti-suicide smock, Ferguson, turtle suit, Bam Bam suit, or suicide gown is a tear-resistant single-piece outer garment that is generally used to prevent a hospitalized, incarcerated, or otherwise detained individual from forming a noose with the garment to commit suicide. The smock is typically a simple, sturdily quilted, collarless, sleeveless gown with adjustable openings at the shoulders and down the front that are closed with nylon hook and loop or similar fasteners. The thickness of the garment makes it impossible to roll or fold the garment so it can be used as a noose. It is not a restraint and provides modesty and warmth while not impeding the mobility of the wearer. The suit covers all private areas, as the wearer is to be naked under the suit for their own protection. These items are formerly known as safety smocks and were designed and developed by Lorna Spear in 1989 while she was a nurse working in the Santa Cruz, California County Jail. Safety smocks are now standard issue throughout jails and prisons in the United States. The same material is used for the anti-suicide blanket. Prior to use of the safety smock, many jails and prisons stripped inmates naked and held them in a stripped-down padded cell with no furniture or protrusions of any kind. Some facilities opted to use paper gowns to provide modesty. The American Correctional Association had established the use of appropriate safety smocks and safety blankets as one of the standards used to judge jails and prisons for accreditation. Demand for safety smocks to meet this ACA standard led to multiple clothing makers creating similar garments of varying strength and of various materials. In addition to the safety smock, Lorna Spear developed a safety blanket and the safe sleeping bag, all made from the quilted heavy nylon material, as well as the dozer, a suicide cell mattress, the safety pillow, and safety slippers. Yo, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his jail cell. You heard?
I couldn't stop laughing when I heard this. I couldn't stop laughing. I had to honestly pause for about an hour before I did this video because I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't get the words out because I couldn't stop laughing. Now, there were people who actually believed that this man was going to bring down some big figures. There were people out there who actually believed that this man was gonna tell all. He was gonna squeak, squeak, squeakity, squeak, squeak, squeak. This man, he knew it, and we knew it. He wasn't going to make it a trial. Come on now. Come on. Are you for real? Did you really believe it? Did you really believe this dude was going to rat out everyone he knew? This man had a private island, pimpin'. Let me rewind that back. He had a private island. Who do you think hangs around someone like that? Who do you think goes and flies to this island around someone like that? Do you think it's Joe down the corner, huh? Do you think it's your mechanic, huh? Come on now. Come on. He wasn't going anywhere. He knew it as much as the people who went with him to these islands and did what they did knew it. You think anyone was sweating? Do you think any high-profile figure was sweating? No, pimpin'. They were not sweating. They were not sweating the least bit. The least bit. I guarantee it. Now, some of you want to talk about the Clintons. The Clintons, Hillary, Bill, all of you want to talk about the Clintons. Here's the thing. I want to talk about who the Clintons are talking about. Everybody's talking about the Clintons. I want to know who the Clintons are talking about. That's what I want to know, right? What I want to know, I want to know the people that did. That's what I want to know about. I want to know the people who did. Yeah? Okay. I want to know the people who went. All right, that's over. That's done with. On to the next. That's what I want to know about. All right? You can miss me with this Clinton nonsense. You can miss me with that. They're low-hanging fruit at this moment in time. All right? They low-hanging fruit. It's like Weinstein. Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. I want to know if Weinstein... Did you hear Weinstein point fingers? Did you hear Weinstein point fingers at anyone else? Well, so-and-so was with me. Well, so this actor was with me. Well, this director was with me. Well, this actor or actress knew about it. No, you didn't. That's why they let Weinstein off. Okay. Now, when it came to Epstein, oh man, you know, there's those type of people where you just can't take that risk. It's like, he could keep his mouth shut, but he could also squeal, and I can't take that risk, right? It can't take that risk. This is all a game. Because think about it. If something really wanted to happen, if change really wanted to go, change could very much easily happen. It could very easily happen. One side, we both agreed, this is bad, let's make it happen. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Heck, we still have the Federal Reserve. And for those of you who know anything about the Federal Reserve, have you heard anyone talk about them? Come on now. Come on now. People want to talk about Clintons and everything. No one wants us to talk about the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, or we won't even mention some names you can't even mention. some names you can't even mention without looking behind you. I don't mean to laugh at all this. But there is stuff going on that you wouldn't even fathom. Now, what I'm curious to see is how the media responds to all of this. I'm curious to see how long it takes for them to hop on something else. I'm curious, this is such a shame. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to vilify people who want to connect dots. Well, that's interesting that this happened during this time. You know what they're going to do? Conspiracy theorists. These people are crazy people. Let's move on. It's an unfortunate event, but, hopefully some closure comes to this. Come on now. We all know the narrative. Don't we? Are we not smarter than this? Are we not smarter than this? Stranger things have happened.
Now, I just love somebody who can put a sense of humor to all of this nonsense. Amazing Lucas is amazing. I love this man. A bunch of others that I leave links in the description for. We are the news now. We are the news now. And the only halfway credible mainstream media news outlet is Fox. And here is what they had to say.
Jeffrey Epstein is dead. The disgraced financier who faced federal sex trafficking charges involving girls as young as 14 was found dead in his New York jail cell in an apparent suicide. Epstein had already been on suicide watch since he was found in that same cell 3 weeks ago with injuries to his neck in what authorities thought at the time was a suicide attempt or the result of a jailhouse assault. Epstein was very rich, and he was very well connected. The former investment banker palled around with everyone from Bill Clinton and Donald Trump.
Now, let me stop this bullshit right here. Let's nip this bullshit in the bud, okay? He said that he palled around with everybody from Bill Clinton to Donald Trump. Wrong. Bill Clinton was Epstein's pal. Flew on the Lolita Express 27 times. Donald Trump never went to Epstein Island. He didn't pal around with Jeffrey Epstein. He threw him out of his Mar-a-Lago resort a decade ago for fucking around with the teenage daughter of one of the clients there. So let's get that straight, asshole. This is proof positive that even Fox News is going over to the left side. Little and little, as Plutarch once said. This is what Ellen G. White, in her book, Desire of Ages, and if you've never read that book, definitely get a copy and read that book. She called this thing, this flip of the tongue, as a matter of fact, in passing mention, she called it a covert negative. Keep that in mind and keep your ears open and your mind engaged when you're listening to mainstream media bullshit, okay?
To Prince Andrew and a host of entertainers and politicians. Only this past week, a self-identified victim named Virginia Guthrie detailed other high-profile names who she said were part of Epstein's alleged network of customers, including former Maine Senator George Mitchell and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Charges heatedly denied by both men. So much we still don't know, including what happens to this case now and how a man on suicide watch in the first place could end up dead at his own hands. The latest now from Brian Yennis, who joins us on the phone. Brian, what have you found out?
Neil, the FDNY tells me that Jeffrey Epstein was, a call came in from the MCC, that is the Manhattan Correctional Center, where Jeffrey Epstein was spending his time during the beginning of this trial. The call came in at about 6:38 for a cardiac arrest. And now we are seeing, based on other reports, that this is an apparent suicide. The New York Times reporting that he was found hung inside of his jail cell. I think the point that you made, Neil, is important here in the sense that it is incredibly scandalous, and I mean, that this man was able to where El Chapo was being held for over 2 years. This is a place where the most hard criminals are held, even terrorists themselves are held. This is a extremely probably call for some hearings here as to why and how this happened. This multimillionaire man of just heinous sexual abuse and sexual assault, and of course you had mentioned also this document release that happened in New York federal court, the federal appeals court here in New York. More than 2,000 pages were just released this week, in which it detailed more and more about his connections to other wealthy people, including New Mexico, with, at the very least, accusations of this, of sexually abusing young girls, despite all of his connections to wealthy and powerful people. That is only going to add to the questions and the conspiracy that's eventually going to come out of this, because people are going to wonder why somebody this connected and this powerful was able to not only get away with it over the last 2 decades.
He got off under what was deemed to be a pretty light sentence orchestrated by, at the time, the former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who later became the Labor Secretary. That deal drew a lot of scrutiny and ultimately forced Acosta out of office. In the meantime, on the phone with us right now and how this is all sorting out, Pat Brosnan, the former New York police detective. Pat, here you have a guy on suicide watch. We're told that he hanged himself. That's coming from a number of sources. You would think that anything that could tempt him to do that. Laces in his shoes or a belt would be taken away from him. So a lot of questions here. What do you think?
So a couple of things, Neil. First of all, good morning. I think what we see here is a very jaw-dropping and mind-blowing example of a deviation, a breach of the prison protocols by the Department of Justice. But we have an unusual set of circumstances. What you have here is Jeffrey Epstein, shades of the 1956 Hitchcock movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much. So what does that mean? That means an awful lot, because the DOJ guidelines on prisoner suicide watch are very clear, and there's 4 words that are critical, Neil. It's continuous and uninterrupted, clear and unobstructed view. These are the guidelines by the DOJ for what they call an active suicide watch. And we all know the fact that he attempted suicide on July 25th in that cell makes him an active suicide watch candidate. This is an absolutely astonishing breach, and I smell foul all over it. Every single fiber of my investigative antenna is on the rise.
So do you think it was a suicide?
I can't speak exactly if it was a suicide or not, because it's too premature in the investigation. But if it were to be a suicide, let's be clear, it only takes 3 minutes. That's 180 seconds to commit suicide. And there's numerous ways to do it. It's available despite all the actions that they implement to mitigate and manage that risk in the cell. The fact is there's anchors in the cell that will allow that to happen. An anchor could be a very low bar. It could be the handle on a bunk. It could be a sprinkler head. There's ways to accomplish it if you're dead set on it. But the key is that the 180-second window, the lapse of continuous and uninterrupted, clear, and the other word was clear and uninterrupted and continuous, that methodology that's instituted and put forward by the Department of Justice, the guards have to watch 24/7 on an active suicide watch. Someone looked away for anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes. That's all it took. And that, my friend, is extremely suspicious. And it goes back to the man who knew too much.
And knew too many. All right, Pat Brosnan, thank you very, very much. By the way, they're trying to pinpoint the time at which this might have occurred, and everyone seems to be grouping around this 6:30 a.m. to 6:38 a.m. time period at which Jeffrey Epstein might have taken his own life. Again, I stress might. He's dead. They're thinking this was a suicide. There's no way to know for sure until they continue this investigation. On the phone is the former federal prosecutor, John Sale. Again, John, I'll ask you what I just asked Pat. For a guy who's under 24-hour suicide watch surveillance, how does something like this happen?
Oh, good morning, Neil. Well, I agree that I wouldn't say it's I smell foul, but I would say I smell very, very suspicious. I mean, they take away sheets, they take away toothbrush, and you stay in that small cell for 23 hours a day. You're escorted to the shower. So it's very, very highly suspicious. Everything about the Epstein case from the beginning is suspicious, if not worse. I mean, it started in Florida where I practice law, and I can tell you that Alex Acosta is a good and decent person. So I think he should be able to voice his side of this. But having served in the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida, in fact, I was the chief of that office, chief assistant, that plea agreement, to me, the most unusual part about it was it had a provision in it which said the parties intend that this not be made public. We just don't do that. So I would really like to know why that happened. Then our Governor DeSantis, has just ordered that the investigation of what happened in the Palm Beach County Jail be taken away from the Palm Beach County Sheriff and be done by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Well, that's only done when something is highly suspicious. I mean, how was he, put in a country club rather than in a typical county jail? Or more than that, he should have gone to state prison, because anyone who's sentenced to more than a year goes to state prison. He was in this private wing in the county jail. Well, everything is suspicious. So, as I said, I wasn't a police officer, but in the MCC, which is very, very secure, very difficult to come in and out of, even if you're an attorney, it raises a lot of questions. I mean, your prior guest mentioned the Alfred Hitchcock movie. I think it was The Man Who knew too much.
Right.
I agree more with what you said. The man who knew too many. The only thing I want to add about that is that names have been mentioned. I don't want to mention those names because those people are presumed innocent. But the real question is, what happens as far as them, if any of them were committing, having sex with underage girls? You do not need, as a matter of law, you do not need corroboration to prosecute them. But as a practical matter, you do, because you can't really, it's difficult to prove a case against one individual or any one individual beyond a reasonable doubt without some corroboration. But that could be in the form of some of the emails that were just discovered. It could be in the form of maybe some other witnesses who were at these parties might come forward or might make a deal. But there is something that nobody's talking about. The deal, well, first of all, the deal, in only the way the New York Post could do it, and we were calling it, he got a sweetheart deal. The New York Post headline was big, bold letters, worst deal in the history of deals. So with that background, there was going to be such scrutiny in terms of what happened. And on the civil side, whereas these victims still can go against his estate, they still need to prove it. It's a lesser burden of proof, but victim or victims, they still are going to have to prove their claims. So whether or not they're going to get justice remains to be seen. But as I think I started to say, Epstein's offenses were so egregious that he was not going to get a get-out-of-jail card no matter what happened. But maybe in the hopes that he would not die in jail, it is possible, and I'm only saying possible, I have no information as to this, that he could have been, his lawyers could have been talking about him cooperating in exchange for what we call a rule for substantial assistance. And that it's suspicious. And maybe he knew too many, and we darn well better get to the bottom of this, because I can't remember, although I don't know everything, when anybody on a suicide watch in such a high visibility case, quote unquote, committed suicide.
John, do you know when you are on suicide watch and you have to be monitored 24/7? At the very least, if you're not being monitored in person, in other words, a guard is right outside the cell watching, are there cameras trained on?
Oh, sure.
So he would be watched closely. So there is video of this, and someone just stopped looking or wasn't looking at that time.
Or there's a convenient lapse in the filming. I mean, that could happen mechanically. I mean, we're not perfect, but it would be quite convenient if there was all of a sudden a 2-minute lapse, and that was the time when he died. And
what did you make of the timing of this woman who came forward, a self-identified victim who raised these other names, and that might have had something to do with the timing of this?
Well, I mean, that's your point when you said the man who knew too many. Just too many strange circumstances here from the day he was apprehended in South Florida 10 or 12 years ago to right up to this shocking news this morning. We just have to get to the bottom of this. This system is not working unless we do.
John Sell, well said. Thank you for taking the time, John. I appreciate it. John Sell, the former federal prosecutor. So as I said, there's so much we don't know. This much we do. A very influential billionaire who had connections with everyone, from the political community to the government community to politicians, entertainers, is now dead. And he dies with a big mystery, a series of mysteries, not only over the timing of his death, but what he knew at the time of his death.
So you see, even the mainstream media are espousing suspicions about Jeffrey Epstein's alleged death. And whether he croaked, or he was fake croaked, or was murdered in his cell, has yet to be determined. But one thing is for sure, there is enough evidence that was gathered from his apartment, if you can call it an apartment, took up the whole freaking block, that they don't need his testimony to prosecute people that were involved in this trafficking business. They don't need the testimony of the victims who are shown on videotape being victimized by this piece of shit. And even though the criminal case cannot go forward, proving that you were abused beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty when you have the perpetrator's own videotape is a slam dunk case. So whether your assets were seized under the executive order or not, you were going to be bled dry anyhow and left penniless by the time your victims got through with you. So whatever road you took, whatever direction, legal or otherwise, you decide to take, you, Mr. Epstein, were fucked. And you fucked yourself by being such a perverted scumbag. This is Dave from Net4Truth USA, Whirlwind Revolt. We're back on our main channel. Subscribe to my other 3 channels, 2 here on YouTube and 1 on BitChute, so that if peradventure one of them goes down, you'll still have notifications and we will continue uninterrupted until we are restored or until something else happens. But you know, when you fly over the target, you're going to get the flack. Comes with the territory. From Tony and I, Ninja and Jovi, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, Godspeed, and God bless. Please subscribe to our backup channels, Whirlwind Revolt, Inglorious Patriots, and Net4Truth USA 2 Patriot channel. You can also find us at Net4Truth USA on BitChute. We fly so close to the target, we're on our 4th fighter jet. We will be relentless truth seekers until the enemies of freedom are defeated. You can support this channel by using the links in the description, but for a $100 donation, I will personally send you a autographed hardcover special edition copy of Land of Childhood's Fears. Also, visit my bookstore at lulu.com/Net4Truth USA. If you are viewing this video on BitChute, you can use the links in the description to support us, or simply click the green $ dot on our video to support this channel. Thank you. Links are in the description section.